Hello fly tyers, welcome to another episode of Angler Maid's Aaron at the Fly Desk. Today we're going to be tying what I call a big-eyed bugger. And this is a fly that is designed to entice a strike even when the fish aren't biting. So what we're going to do is we're going to coat this hook in some thread, kind of give us a good base. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get some of this lead that it says in California it causes cancer, but we're not in California, so we don't have to worry about it. So we're going to put this lead, and what I like to do is start about halfway up the hook, and I typically just like to weight the very front of the hook, and that helps the fly dance a little better in the water. So we'll go there, and then we'll simply wrap this thread back over a few times. Just get it nice and tight. And just like always, I've misplaced my super glue. Usually I put a little super glue in there, but my 5-year-old has been in here tying flies and he must have run off with it, but that's okay. We don't really need it on this because I got it nice and tight. Okay, next thing we're going to do is, this is going to be an olive big-eyed bugger, so we're going to get some olive strung marabou. And I like to get the softer edges because it has better action in the water. So what I'll do is I'll just cut a clump of that off. And I usually hold it right over the top of my lead so I keep my taper nice. And then rather than cut it, I simply just pull it, and then I get a nice taper tail. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to get some olive flashabou. And put a nice clump in there. And then I do cut my flashabou, and I usually cut it about 1/8 of an inch longer than my marabou tail. And then I'm simply going to put on just a little bit more marabou over the top of our flashabou. I'm going to hold everything nice and tight together. And then once again, you've seen in my previous videos, I like to end my fly about where the barb of the hook is. I'll pull off that marabou, make sure it's nice and tapered. Now you can see I got a nice fluffy tail. It's got a good taper to it, and it'll have great action in the water. Okay, the next thing we're going to do on this is we're going to tie a little bit of wire into it. The main purpose of the wire, I don't get too caught up on color on this one because you'll see with the body you won't really see the wire, but it's simply to hold the hackle in place in case we have a situation where we're catching a ton of fish on one fly. We want this fly to hold together great. Okay, on this one we're going to get an olive saddle hackle, and what I like to do is pull the fibers opposite of the direction they're flowing. And then I pull it to where it's the dull side up, like that. And then what we'll do is we'll get some olive crystal chenille. and I will tie this on the side of the hook. I'll go all the way to the end of my lead, just like so. Okay, so you can see I've left plenty of room for my head. And then I'll just start wrapping this crystal chenille through over top of all the material. And I'll end it, still giving myself plenty of room for a nice head on this fly. And you'll see why in a second. Okay, next step is our hackle. Just going to run this straight through, keep it nice and spaced evenly. You can kind of start flowing it back once you get to the front. And once I get to the front, I'm wrapping over the top of itself multiple times, because I like my hackle thicker in the front than I do in the back. Cut that off very nice. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll simply wrap our wire through, and I'll be very careful to wrap it so as to not damage my hackle. So you can see I'm wrapping it almost exactly where my hackle wrapped through. And you can see it a little bit. You'd see it more if it was just regular chenille, but this crystal absorbs it a lot into the thickness of it. Alright, so this is where this fly gets fun. So I fold that wire over. Now I'm going to really build up a head on this fly. And I'm using this 3/0 Danville monocord. About like that. Okay. Now what we'll do is we'll whip finish. Okay, and we're not done yet, so don't turn the video off. This is where it gets interesting. So the next part, and this is why I like tying my own flies, is this is typically a fly that you cannot buy in a fly shop. But I think it adds enough extra to where I'm going to catch more fish than the average fisherman because of these extra little tricks that I put on these flies. An old fisherman taught me that an eye is a trigger for a fish to strike. Meaning the eye is something natural that fish see in their normal feeding cycles, especially if they're feeding on minnows. And so if you can make a fly and put some eyes on it, anytime you're trying to imitate a minnow, then you've now set yourself apart from other fishermen. So what we're going to do is we put these two eyes on. They got a little bit of sticky on them, and then I'm going to drop some UV glue right in between those two eyes, and I'll show you right here. So I put an eye on this side, an eye on this side, and then I've put UV glue right smack in the middle of those two eyes. So what that's doing is it's sandwiching the two eyes onto the hook. So I do one side there, and then I come around the bottom and I do it again. And I'm even okay if I put extra on it, and even around my eyes, because I want this thing to hold together really tight and be extra durable, because when I start catching fish on this, I don't want to have to change to another one because the fish tore it up. So this thing is going to be rock solid. It's weighted. It's going to dance in the water with my fluffy marabou tail. So now you can see I've got a rock solid set of eyes on there. I did get a little bit of material around my eye, but not bad. Not enough to worry about. So that, my friends, is what I call a big-eyed bugger. And I'm telling you, with that little extra trick, by putting some eyes on it, it definitely triggers more strikes. So there you have it, the big-eyed bugger in olive. And I thank you for watching this video. Hope you liked it, hope you tie it, and hope you try it. Thank you for watching.